Hey fellow trolls, this is Mark W, and I am doing a new thing. This is called a tiny Tunnels and Trolls trip. So I thought I'd do a series of these videos in which I will play short adventures. There are several adventures for Tunnels and Trolls that are designed to be played very quickly. Most notably, there's the kind of subgenre, if you will, called teleport dungeons. And the most well known and the original teleport dungeon is what you see before you, the Deathtrap Equalizer, also known as Deathtrap Equalizer Dungeon. Um, so, yeah, basically, the reason why I'm doing this is it's kind of been hard to find large chunks of time lately to play through a solo. It involves usually having my son Rob Bob, and I've got a 2-year-old too, so it's been kind of hectic and kind of difficult to just have a nice chunk of 90 minutes or 2 hours to play with him. And anyway, so I'm doing these by myself, and what I'm going to do is the first time that I play a particular adventure such as this one, I'll do all the introductory read-throughs that take a while, and I'll give you a nice view of the artwork and all that stuff, like the front and back covers. Why don't we do that now, in fact? But then in the subsequent plays, I will just get right into it. And they'll be really quick. They'll be like maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes each. I don't know exactly. And it depends. But what is a teleport dungeon, though? These are dungeons or adventures, if you will, in which you pretty much just roll a couple of dice and you're just thrown, depending on your dice roll, into a little scenario that might be very quick. It might be like, it might take you 5 minutes, or it might take you 15, 20, like I was saying earlier, but they're usually designed to be quick. You go in and out. This is not the only teleport dungeon. There's a few more. But like I said, this is kind of the quintessential teleport dungeon by Ken St. Andre. This is the deluxe edition, the most recent one. The original, well, I can get to the history inside. It is talked about inside here. So why don't we do our read through, and then we'll jump into a session. By the way, let's take a gander. We don't care about the heads too much, but here we have the cover art, inside cover art. This is Solitaire Adventure 2 for Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls. This is the second one ever published. The first was Buffalo Castle, written by Ken St. Andre, illustrations by Liz Danforth and Steve Crompton, cover by Brian Talbot, and layout and graphics by Steve Crompton. Published by Flying Buffalo Incorporated. All right, let's go to forward by the dungeon designer. So I have this new stand thingy that should hopefully make these videos a little neater. Try not to damage my book in the process of using these hooks, though. That should be pretty good. A forward by the dungeon designer. I could just be zooming in if I decide to slide up the stand because I'm silly. A forward by the dungeon designer. In 1976, Rick Loomis of Flying Buffalo Incorporated designed the first programmed solitaire dungeon for players of Tunnels and Trolls called Buffalo Castle, and limited in scope to first-level warrior characters. It was nevertheless something of a breakthrough in fantasy gaming. For the first time in the short history of role-playing fantasy games, a player could sit down and play a full game of TNT, even if there was not another gamer around, for 100 miles. Furthermore, for a new player trying to introduce even newer players to the hilarious art of dungeon delving, Buffalo Castle can serve as a simple dungeon already created, thus saving the new dungeon designer hours of work in designing his own dungeon and in providing a wealth of good ideas to springboard the imagination of the new designer when he gets around to digging his first complex tunnel. Now Rick has asked me to do another programmed dungeon for solitaire players. I call it the Deathtrap Equalizer dungeon. This is not a beginner's dungeon for warriors only, but instead is a full-fledged house of horrors for player characters of all types and levels. As you might suspect, when trying to design a sophisticated dungeon with a finite number of choices for players to make, instead of the infinite possibilities available when you have a game master to moderate, the most difficult thing to predict and control was magical actions initiated by the players. If I wanted to spend several years and hundreds of pages, I suppose I could have accounted for every conceivable magical reaction to any stage of a given situation. But I wanted to produce a playable game booklet, not an encyclopedic work for budding magic users. Thus, I have arbitrarily limited I will point the pencil this way, how about? The available magic to the first 5 levels of spell casting, and not even all of them. While you may try to employ any of the first 5 levels of magic, only those spells which I considered the most logical for use in each situation can actually take effect. All irrelevant magic is either useless or automatically cancelled by higher sorcery built right into the dungeon walls. Like Buffalo Castle, the Equalizer dungeon depends upon the honor system to make it work. I will do a quick adjustment. If you're going to cheat, you might as well not even play, because the only person you are cheating is yourself. This dungeon contains 15 situations drawn from the mythology of heroic fantasy. There's at least one or more logical solutions to each problem that your characters will face, even if it is as simple as fighting your way out. I have tried very hard to devise tests and traps that will challenge every part of a player's character. Luck as well as cunning, wisdom as well as swordsmanship, caution as well as daring. The traps are fiendish, and you may find many of your favorite characters going down to humiliation or death. But the rewards are high, and when through some fortunate combination of circumstances, you get a character who really achieves some heroic feats, you will be all the prouder of him or her. In order to play this game, you'll need a copy of the Tunnels and Trolls rules, a few dice, some paper, and a lot of good sense. Now, if you are ready, please turn to page 1 and meet your host, Slapagas of the Shiny Teeth, and happy delving. And that is a foreword written by the author of the solo, Ken St. Andre. Let's zoom out a little bit. And it says, P.S. For maximum enjoyment of this game, read the paragraphs inside only when instructed to, thus keeping the surprises fresh for several games. If you read it straight through like a book, you eliminate the whole principle of uncertainty that the game is built on. And let's go to the next page. Second introduction, many years later. Okay, that's what I said back in 1976. While preparing the deluxe edition of TNT in 2013, I thought it might be fun to revise and reissue my first real solo adventure. The situations in this adventure remain the same, but the wording may have changed a bit, or I may make other small changes. This adventure should be played using the deluxe rules. Player characters may have talents. A minimum saving roll is no longer 5. It may be as low as 4. A roll of 1, 2, meaning a total of 3, is always a failure, no matter how good the character's attribute may be, and is considered a catastrophic failure. There are some other minor changes and additions. When asking for a saving roll, I will use this format, L5SR on luck, which means level 5 saving roll on luck. The attributes and levels requested will vary, but they should all be in that format. Some characters' names may change. This is an adventure for humanoid characters only, that is humans, elves, dwarves, hobbits, and perhaps orcs and orcikin. Other kindreds such as leprechauns, fairies, trolls, ogres, goblins, centaurs will not be admitted here. When this dungeon was first created, I assumed your player would be a human. It doesn't have to be, but at least it should be humanoid and roughly the right size. Now, I used to play in the past as I would just use whatever I want. I could use a leprechaun, but if the text says, well, this is too small a hole to fit in or something like that, if you're trying to crawl through like a little cavern, then you have to take it for its word. You can't argue with the book and say, well, I'm a leprechaun, I should be able to fit. But for now, I'm going to go with what Mr. Ken says here. When this dungeon was first created, I assumed your player would be a human. We got that. The year in Troll World was about 1000 AK when the Deathtrap first opened for business. The current year is about 1250 AK. Attribute all differences between the early edition and this later one to the passage of time. Some things haven't changed. Immortals tend to last a long time. You'll need a character, paper, dice, something to write with, and perhaps deluxe rules for TNT, When you are ready to play, please turn to page 1 and read the introduction. If you do not have the deluxe rules, go ahead and play by any edition of TNT rules that you have. Your character may have talents. If you have not assigned any talents to the characters you use in this book, and come to a situation where a specific talent or kind of talent might help, feel free to give your character this talent that might save his life. Characters get 1 talent per level. Rogues also have the roguery talent, based on the highest attribute among int, luck, and charisma. Good luck. Ken St. Andre, July 2013. All right. Paragraph 1A. The fellow on the next page is named Umslapagas of the Shiny Teeth. He is your host in the Deathtrap Equalizer, and it is he who gives out the rings for those who want to try their luck in this dungeon. There are some rules that you as players must conform to in order for this game to work. First, the regular rules of Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls apply in the situations inside. Second, the Delver must go alone. Sorry, no groups. Third, you must use your imagination and sometimes do the dice rolling for the monsters as well as for your own character. Some monsters use the monster rating system, and some fight as individual characters. Saving rolls are made on a variety of attributes, but the minimum saving roll will always be 4, and a roll of 3, a 1 and a 2, is a catastrophic failure no matter what the character's attribute may be. Now let's pick up on what Umslop, as his friends call him, is saying. Most of you will be taking the frog trip. That is, you get into one situation, solve it, and come back out where I can reward adventure points, patch up minor wounds, and whatnot. More ambitious players will try the monkey trip. Each time you solve a situation, you will randomly go on to another one until the randomness sends you back to one you have already done. If that happens, you will return here, and your adventure will be over. If you are supposed to return to Umslop, then always go to 2A. Those who think they are heroes will use the lion ring and will go in sequence through all 15 of the equalizer situations. I wouldn't try it myself, but the rewards are tremendous if you make it. Each time your ring lights up, you go on to the next adventure. Instead of going to 2A, you go to the next A paragraph up through 18A, which is the last situation. Step right up and take a ring. Umslapagas continues his pitch. Now, as you all know, this is an equal opportunity dungeon, licensed by the Chamber of Commerce of downtown Kosht, and in reality it is more of a pocket universe in a closed time loop than a conventional complex of tunnels and chambers. Everyone has the same basic chance of getting rich or getting dead. It depends on you. We allow you to take any magical weapons, protective charms, armor, etc., that you might already possess. There is only one catch. In situations where there is a conflict of interests or instructions, the equalizer instructions take precedence. So if you have a magic weapon that is supposed to be unbreakable and we say it breaks, then we broke your magic weapon. Also, those of you who are shapeshifters will find that you are limited to humanoid form while inside. So basically it's just saying the book cannot account for any wild character traits or abilities or magic items you'll have, so you just have to go by the book. Because we don't have a game master, we have a book. Some words of caution. The equalizer was designed to kill fools. Be wary of your choices, but be not afraid to fight when you must. You would be wise to take some means of making a light and some money in case you might want to buy anything within. Remember that courtesy may be as important as skill with weapons. Now goodbye and good luck. I'll be watching, but you're on your own. Here is Mr. Umslapagas of the Shiny Teeth. Notice he has a scorpion tail. And this is by Danforth in 76. Wow. Choose now whether you are taking the frog trip, the monkey trip, or the lion trip. If it is frog or monkey, roll 3d6 and go to the A paragraph indicated by the number you rolled. If you rolled a 7, you would return to paragraph 7A. If you are taking the Lion trip, go directly to paragraph 3A. Read each paragraph of information carefully. You may read a whole paragraph before going to another paragraph unless specifically instructed not to. Make your choices promptly and fight your battles quickly. You may never exercise more than one option at a time. Wizardry lost in spellcasting recovers at a rate of 1 point per numbered entry finished. An entry like 17E may actually have 2 or more paragraphs in it, but you would only recover 1 whiz point for it. Wounds do not heal naturally inside the equalizer. And other lost attributes will not revert to their normal base numbers unless the wording actually says so. So roll those dice and get started, or if you're doing the Lion trip, go to 3A. Okay, so I'm going to take a break and roll up a character, and then we're going to do the frog trip. It's a brief trip where you just roll and go. Okay, so I decided I'm going to roll up the character before your eyes. I'm going to go with a human, even though they can be very basic. That's okay, we'll give it a try. And I'm going to use an optional rule that Ken St. Andre says actually is a recommended rule, which is any roll of an 8 or lower should be re-rolled. And since we're playing with Deluxe TNT and not a much older edition, we can use the tarot rules as well, which means triples, add, and roll over. So if you roll all 3 dice the same, such as 3, 3, and 3, that would be a 9, and then you roll again and add on top of that. So let's see what happens. Let's roll for strength. By the way, I'm going to be rolling onto my stand-up stand here. And, oops, this thing fell through the crack. Oh, that's interesting. Anyway, we can put it like over here. And we're going to roll it like this. Whatever die side is facing the camera is what we're going to go with. That would be a pretty good roll of 14. Okay, so let's roll up strength first. That is a 16 we'll go with. That's very good. It's hard to roll a 16 on 3 dice. For dexterity, we have a 10, very average. For constitution, we rolled a 10. Charisma. By the way, this is my super simple card that I wrote. I was kind of using this just as anytime I'm going to create a bunch of characters that I don't think are going to actually advance very far, I'll just keep the core basics, the basic stuff that you need for any character right here. And if he starts doing well and accumulates equipment and spells, etc., then I'll transfer it to one of my more deluxe sheets. If you've seen my other videos, I have a double-sided deluxe that I made myself that has a space for basically everything. It's just that for most of the time, well, first of all, you're going to die more than half the time. It's a lot of wasted paper and ink and stuff, so we're going to keep it simple. Anyway, charisma. Our charisma is a 10 as well. Luck. Luck is an important one because usually you have saving rules on luck to make. And also it figures into your combat adds along with strength, dexterity, and speed. Alright, we have a decent luck, but not high enough to contribute to adds. IQ. IQ is very good, 14. Pretty good, let's say. And next up is our wizardry. This is useful if you're a wizard or a rogue, any kind of spellcaster. That is I kind of nudged that. The problem with this sideways rolling is it's hard to break the ties. We'll go with 6 though. Am I cheating? I hope not. Should I make this a wizard then with a decent IQ and whiz? Perhaps. Let's see what the speed is though. Could make it a rogue. An 8, so we're using Ken's rule of 8 or less as a reroll. And now we got a 10. So a lot of 10s. Level is going to be 1. Because the level is determined by the highest, basically slash off the last digit and the highest value of all your attributes. So another way to put it is divide by 10, dropping the remainder, and the highest value is your level. So I'm level 1. My adds are going to be for every point exceeding 12 in strength, luck, speed, and dexterity, I get an add, so I only get +4 from the strength, and that's it. And now we can roll for how much gold pieces we start with. It's going to be 3d6 times 10. That would be 110. Okay. So I'm going to cut away now and write up my weapons, armor, and talents, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, so I've decided to make our character a rogue, which gives them an extra talent and some spell casting abilities, and they can still fight pretty decently. And the talents I have chosen are acrobat and stealth. So acrobat, well, for one of them is for being level 1, and for being a rogue they start out with a bonus. So acrobat and stealth. Anytime there's a saving roll required that requires some kind of, some kind of backflip or somersault or something like that, I could apply the acrobat talent to add 3 to my saving roll. And anytime I have to sneak or hide in a shadow or something, I could probably use the stealth talent to get a +3 to that saving roll. And this is, you have to, in a solo adventure, you have to use your own fair discretion as to when it applies. And since I'm doing this on video for you, you could always call me out if I'm cheating. For weapons, I decided to go with a double dagger strategy, which is usually good for low-level characters. This one seems to work especially well, given my dexterity of 10. I'm using 2. One has a dexterity requirement of 7, and the other has a dexterity requirement of 3. I don't know if you can read this too well. The slash one is for throwing. You need a 20 to throw this dagger, and you need a 14 to throw this one. So I got a kukri, which deals 2d6 +3 in combat, and the sheath dagger. This is under the category of I believe a medium dagger, and this is 1 level below that. So altogether we have a 2d6 +3 dagger and a 2d6 +2 dagger. For armor I got a full suit of light leather, which blocks 3 hits of damage. For equipment I got a Delver's package, which I'd have to look it up, but it includes a whole bunch of goodies like a backpack, some matches and torches, some rope. So if the adventure calls for any of those things, I can just say, hey, I have it. That only costs, I believe, 5 gold. And as a rogue, I start with 1 spell that I'm capable of casting. Again, this works out with my dexterity of 10 because level 1 spells require 10 dexterity as well as IQ of 10. So I meet both of those just barely, basically. Well, dexterity just barely, and IQ I have higher than enough. And the one I chose is, most people probably choose Take That You Fiend, the standard combat spell. I decided to go with Oh There It Is, which it's a level 1 spell. It costs 4 wizardry points to use, and it locates hidden objects and invisible things, basically. Okay? So that is our character. I decided to call him Shadowface. Why not? I figured I was starting to think, because he's a rogue and has stealthy kind of talents, let's go with Shadow. And I just kind of thought of face. I know it's a little silly sounding, but I like to be silly and tell the trolls. So let's go back to the book. I will get Shadowface's character card out of the way for now. And what we have is a choice of which ring we want to take, as we read earlier. We can take the lion, the frog, or the monkey. The monkey is new, by the way. Back in the day, we did not have the trip of the monkey. But I'm going to go with the frog trip, which is just 1 in and out. You roll to see your encounter and see if you can survive. Play through it, and you could do another later. I believe there's a limit to like 3. We'll look at that later. But if it is a frog or monkey, roll 3d6 and go to the A paragraph indicated by the number rolled. If you roll a 7, you would go to paragraph 7A. All right, let's do it. Okay, so 3 dice. Let's see where we wind up. 7A, just like in the example. Okay, here we are at 7A. You are standing with your back against a wall in a large red circle. This room is 30-foot square. On the walls are mirrors and paintings. There is a table and a chair in the center of the room. carpets on the floor, and couches near the side walls. In front of the door stands a great hulk of a warrior, 6'6" tall, 250 pounds of muscle. He is armed with a broadsword in his right hand. I suppose it's this fellow. Instead of a left hand, he has a double-bladed war axe, and we have its dice numbers just to give you a hint of how badass he is. And we can zoom out for a moment to look at him. Aha. He speaks jauntily. Hello, Buster. Muska is my name, and robbing people is my game. Har har, don't bother going for your magic. None of it will work in this room. Now either lay down your cash or pull out your weapons. Muska grins ferociously through strong yellow fangs and advances upon you. If you choose to fight, go to 17D. If you surrender, go to 20B. Okay, I would hate to just surrender right away. I'd also hate to die, though, so let's see. He has 6 dice plus 3 for this, for the war axe alone. And I don't know what his sword is worth, but he's probably going to use both. And he's going to have personal adds as well. Meaning he's probably got something like 9 dice plus, I don't know, at least 10. Meanwhile, I have 4 dice for my daggers plus my personal adds are 4. And then if you add in the adds from each weapon, that's 9. So 4 dice plus 9. Doesn't sound good. But I hate to just walk up and surrender my money. So let's fight him. I'll probably die. That's how many of these adventures are going to go, though. Alright, so 17D. 17D, are you fighting with weapons? Go to 5C, or with magic, go to 24B. Remember, Muska told you that magic wouldn't work. Well, I don't even have any magic that can deal damage. Oh, there it is. So I am going to fight with weapons at 5C. Okay, 5C. In combat, Muska gets 6 dice for his 2 weapons. Okay, so that was not just the hand axe, the axe attached to his hand. And 15 and ooh. He will not go berserk, though. You may if it will help. Good to know. His constitution is only 10, so is mine. Fight until either you or he dies. If you go berserk and your strength falls to 5 or less, you pass out and he kills you. If he wins, go to 2B. Muska takes all your possessions and throws your body out for the dungeon rats to gnaw on. If you kill him, go to 26B. It's going to be tough, but 6, jeez. Alright, so back to my character. I don't think I have a prayer. I could look at berserk rules. I don't know if it's going to help much, though. Alright, so I have cookery. I already did this math before. I have 4 dice plus 9 versus 6 plus 15. That's pretty bad. What I could do, and some people do this, some people play the solos to the letter of the law, which is kind of usually what I do. But some people say, you can make up a stunt you can do. In other words, say, using my acrobatic talent, I can attempt to somersault between his legs and stab him in the groin as I flip through for extra bonus damage or something like that. It's kind of hard to do that and be impartial. It's great to do that in a GM game. Just get creative and see if the GM approves. The GM can assign fairly some saving roll to make and what the outcomes will be. So I think I'm just going to play this as is. I'm going to take a quick break and look at Berserk rules, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, I'm going to attempt to try Berserk rules, it turns out, because if your character's IQ score is 16 or less, you're allowed to. You have to be dumb enough to try going Berserk. If you're too smart, you can't go Berserk. I have 14, so I can try it. And what it does is it lets you, well, first of all, you throw out your personal adds, so I would lose the +4. And you would keep the adds due to the weapons, though. And since I roll 4 dice in combat, I would roll the 4 dice, and anytime there are duplicates, such as, if you look here, I would have 3 ones, perhaps. I add and re-roll those 3 ones. So basically all the duplicates you get to re-roll and add. The downside is you lose 1d6 strength every combat round. But the rules go on to say, however, that reduction only takes effect when the combat ends. for as long as some strength remains. Thus, a character with only enough strength to fight normally when rested can still keep fighting while berserk even though his strength is decreasing. In fact, only two things stop a berserker once the rage overcomes him. Either the opposition is dead or defeated, or if during the fight strength would reach 0, the character has drained all his reserves and will collapse unconscious. Okay, looks like they have a special rule here that at 5 or less I'll pass out. It could be that was just the rule back in the day and they neglected to update this for deluxe. Sometimes that happens. They revise an old solo adventure and they don't always update the rules correctly. So I'm going to go with what the rulebook says and hope and pray a little bit. Alright, so I have to get some combat scrap paper up. Be right back. Alright, let's do this. We're going to roll 60 plus 15 for Muska. 4 dice for our own guy, Shadowface. And getting some dice together here. It's going to be a little rough, but we're going to give it our best shot. So I'll use my own, my style that I defined earlier of rolling. So the side face is the one that we look at. So I can use this handy stand. All right. So let's roll myself first. Okay, we're gonna go. That's a 1. Looks like a 1. Looks like we have 1. I think it was a 4, unfortunately. So we have this is bad. No duplicates. So we have 8, 12, 13, and we're gonna get destroyed. So it's no spite and a total of 13 versus 6 dice plus 50. Jeez. Here we have not quite 6 dice. That would be 5 dice. Now let's get 6. Okay, we'll roll 3 at a time to make it a little neater. And we rolled. Oh, fortunately that's a low roll. We've got 5 plus 12. That's still pretty bad. And 1 spite. Not going to make a difference this spite. Alright, so 12 plus 5 is 17 plus his 15 adds is 32. Alright, so long story short, I take 19 damage, which is enough to kill me in 1 blow. And so sad, I am dead. Okay, the death paragraph is 2B. There is apparently some chance of redeeming yourself, but I don't think it's going to apply to me. If your con is between 0 and -9, you look dead, but are not beyond saving. Alright, so I had 10 con and took 19 minus 3 for the armor, so I took 16, bringing me to -6. Actually, I do fall into that range. So I look dead, but I am not beyond saving. Umslop will use his wizardly powers to heal you. He will also charge you all the money you may currently have for doing so, and will take back his dungeon ring. If your con is a -10 or less, then you are truly dead. Do not use this character ever again. But don't be discouraged. You can always create a new character and have new adventures, either here or in other solos and modules. The end. Alright, so thank you to Umslop for saving me, but I do lose my remaining 10 gold. And thank you for joining me for that tiny Tunnels and Trolls trip into Deathtrap Equalizer. And as I said in the intro, this first one is going to be a little longer because I was reading through all the introductory text. But from now on, I'm going to repeat this solo adventure and say, to read the intro, you're going to look at the first video that I posted. And for the sake of this one, we're just going to jump right into it. That's what I'm going to say in the future. So thanks for watching that. And maybe we'll defeat that character again with the axe for a hand another time. We'll get our vengeance for Shadowface. But Shadowface himself can actually re-enter the Deathtrap Equalizer using another frog trip, I guess, or monkey, or whatever. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Enjoy. If you like what I'm doing here, please like and subscribe, but I won't beg you to do it. And enjoy gaming. That's all. Bye.